Oh, you know what they say about Derry, dear?
No one who dies here ever really dies. But you know what they say about Derry.
No one who dies here ever really dies.
Hi guys, my name's Barry and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking into It, Welcome to Derry, Season 1, Episode 6, In the Name of the Father. In this episode we get more of the black spot and we know what the build-up is going to be with the black spot. But in this episode, the black spot is up and running now. There's people that are going to it, even the kids go to the black spot. Also within this episode we get the introduction or the official introduction to Periwinkle, and Periwinkle is Mrs. Kersh when she was a kid, and we find out that her father was Pennywise the dancing clown. At the start of the episode we get Mrs. Kersh in 1935, so this is when It was around, and she's a nurse in the hospital that she works at still, and she takes this little girl down to the basement because she wants to see Pennywise. We don't know why at this point, why she's so infatuated with Pennywise, but of course we find out later on that Pennywise the dancing clown is her father. Now we do have to differentiate what happens in this show compared to what happens in the novel, because in the novel Pennywise is not a human. Pennywise was never a human being. Bob Gray was never a human being in the novel. What Pennywise and Bob Gray was a persona of It, just a manifestation of It. It wasn't copying anyone. It wasn't replacing anyone. It was just It in the novel. Whereas in this show, what they do is they take the idea of Pennywise and make it a human being. So in this show, Mrs. Kersh's father is Pennywise the dancing clown. They don't even mention Bob Gray's name. We can only assume his name was Bob Gray. But in the show, they don't say Bob Gray. They just say Pennywise the dancing clown. So in the show, she has a father who was a circus performer. She was also one of the performers. She plays Periwinkle, the daughter. So you've got Pennywise and Periwinkle. Of course, we'll get quite a few nods to It Chapter 2 because Mrs. Kersh exists in Chapter 2, although she doesn't exist as a human being in It Chapter 2. We can only assume she died an old lady, but she died before the events of It Chapter 2 in 2016 because she was already that manifestation of It and not the actual Mrs. Kersh that we see in the show. But even still, even though she's a human in the show but a manifestation of It in Chapter 2, we do get the nods to Mrs. Kersh in the show. We obviously get the lines that she says in the show and in the movie.
No one who dies here ever really dies.
And we get that creepy song that's played within the movie as well as the show. We get a few extra images in that little photograph book that Lily opens up. I know we've seen some of them on the wall in Chapter 2, but we get a full album of them in the show. And I do love that creepy look of her father dressed as Pennywise the dancing clown. You can see that he's wearing the wig and he's got his face painted. It's not like It, it's actually the human dressed up as Pennywise. I also love the fact that It doesn't even know who she is. So when she calls him dad or papa, he looks at her as if that's quite funny. And then he plays on that when he turns himself into the human version of Pennywise the clown so that he can show her that he's trying to be friendly. And he kind of uses Mrs. Kersh as his vessel to bring in the children so that he can eat. It's quite similar to Henry Bowers in the movies and the miniseries where he uses Henry Bowers to catch the kids or the kids as adults, and it's the same in the show. He uses Mrs. Kersh to get the children. I think before the show started we all had this idea that the finale was probably going to take place at the black spot where we see all the people getting killed and the fire started and Pennywise is there, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen, and the end of episode 6 is the build up of that. Like I said, you've got all the people who are enjoying themselves at the black spot, and then the group of white supremacists come and they are about to start that fire, and it's led by Chief Bowers. They're all wearing their masks so that nobody knows who they are, but of course we know who they are. Another thing that I forgot to mention that I don't think they needed to put in there was when the children were seeing the images of what they thought was Pennywise, and they saw the hand on the wall, they saw someone standing outside the house. That wasn't Pennywise, that was Periwinkle. I don't see why they needed to do that. I'm assuming that maybe later on they're going to show us that Periwinkle is trying to collect all the children, which is what she is alluding to anyway in the episode. But even if they showed that it was Pennywise, it wouldn't make a difference to the story. So I found that a little bit weird. They didn't need to do that, although they did it. In terms of how the show is going, I still think it's going at a steady pace, and it's going to lead up to something hopefully huge. Won't be Stranger Things huge, but I'm hoping it leads up to something big anyway. From what we saw in the first couple of trailers, we're obviously going to get something epic anyway, but hopefully it comes across on screen. In terms of, do I think this is the best episode? No, I don't think so. I think the previous episode is still the better episode, but it doesn't mean that the story's going down. I think the story is still building up to something really big. I am a big fan of It Chapter 2, and I know that it gets a lot of hate online because it's nowhere near as good as It Chapter 1, and it's hard to beat It Chapter 1 because it is one of the best horror movies, I think, of all time. So when it comes to It Chapter 2, that's like the black sheep of the It movies. So I'm glad they're giving it a lot of nods, especially in this episode with Mrs. Kersh, and of course the music that they use in both the show and It Chapter 2. So as a fan of It Chapter 2, then I obviously loved this episode. I just don't think it's the best episode so far. So what are your thoughts on this episode, guys? Are you looking forward to seeing what they're going to do with this black spot? And did you notice the nods to It Chapter 2? It might be obvious to some people, it might not be obvious to others. Even some people who noticed the nods to Mrs. Kersh, maybe they didn't realise it was the exact same song that they played on that gramophone. But anyway, guys, as always, leave your thoughts and opinions down below. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you soon.
Oh, no, please, please! I'll be right back! What are you waiting for, huh?
Coming to get you, Barbara.
Ever played Skin the Cat?
Someone's in the back!